Welcome back to Copenhagen Blue. Today I am taking care of the last thing that has really been driving me nuts on the Beetle, which is a check engine light. So we're gonna hook up our scanner. Let's see what's causing the check engine light first, and then let's see if we can get a new part and install it. Alright, so I'm going to use an OBD Link MX Plus. You can actually hook this up to your iPhone, and it just goes in down on the OBD port down here, plugs right in. You get a power light and a Bluetooth light letting you know that it's active. Now you'll see, I'll start it up. Everything goes off except for the check engine light. It's been on since I got the car and I know what it is. So we're going to connect, and that'll connect us to the dongle down on the OBD2 port. Once we're connected, we can hit diagnose. It's going to scan for our codes. We have 3 codes. We have P0030, P0300, and P0303. Now, random misfires on this car. I've noticed sometimes when it's cold it misfires a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be consistent enough that it's something I'm going to really tear into right now. But we do have that P0030, which is the oxygen sensor heating control circuit. So what that is there's a little element inside your O2 sensor that heats up, and it gets like 700 degrees, and if it doesn't do that, then it sets a fault for it. So that's what's going on. Now with having that, what we can do is we can clear that code. We are going to clear it, and usually it comes back like right away. We'll scan real quick. Obviously all of those are running codes. Let's start the car back up. Check engine lights off. Let's scan for codes. And already we have a pending code of the 0030 for the heating circuit. So we know that already the car has picked up on the fact that the oxygen sensor heating element's not working. Tells us right there we need to replace it. So let's put an oxygen sensor in. Okay, so one of the first things that we have to do is we have to raise the front end of the vehicle, because the oxygen sensor runs down the firewall and hooks up right past kind of where the firewall meets the bottom of the car. So we have to get the front end up so we can take a little panel off and disconnect that, and then that way we can undo the oxygen sensor out of the manifold. So we're going to put the car up on some ramps. Okay, so what you saw us do there was we had to put a piece of wood in front of the tires because the front end of the bumper would have hit the ramps as they went up. I know she's no beauty queen, but I still don't want to damage the front end if I don't have to. So a little 2x4 there, raised up the front wheels, and then that way she was good to go on the ramp. Now we're going to go under and I'll show you what we need to do to unhook the oxygen sensor. Alright, so now as you get under the car, we have 2 oxygen sensors. We have a post-cat, which is after the catalytic converter over here. And then we also have our pre-cat, which is way up there on the front of the exhaust manifold, runs all the way down here, and then goes into this little box. Now our oxygen sensor in question is going to be right back. See it right there on the exhaust manifold, and then those wires run down the firewall to where we were just at. Okay, a really cool thing with this app that we were using, the OBD Link, that comes with that dongle on the inside of the car for the OBD2 reader. You can see here we have the pending code of the 0030. You can then go to online lookup and it pulls up the actual code right there for you, telling you that it's a bank 1 sensor. So on the exhaust manifold, it's the sensor number 1, which is the one we were looking up on top. If it was bank 1 sensor 2, then it would be the post cat 1. So we already know that it's going to be that oxygen sensor. And then it tells you that you should have a voltage of 8 to 18 volts from the PCM. It's not picking up the right thing, so we're going to replace it, and that should take care of our code. At least we'll clear it out, see if it comes back. Alright, so once we're under the vehicle, you can see what we're going to need. So we're going to have to remove that. I'm going to guess it's probably 10 to 12 millimeter. And then we have to undo the wire that comes not from here, but this one here that runs all the way up front to the other oxygen sensor. So let's go grab a ratchet. Just like everything else, 10 millimeter. Undo these little plastic nuts. So now the nice thing is, you can see here's our oxygen sensor connector for the post cat, and then so go back here, we have our oxygen sensor connection for our pre-cat. We want to undo, push, pull, and then they come undone. That is the way that VW ones work. Now let me go grab my other oxygen sensor that I bought to make sure that it has the right connection. We have our oxygen sensor here. It is a Bosch type. Certain things that I have learned over time, it is best to get OE if you can. German cars like to use Bosch. So with this, we get the right connection, as well as we get the proper O2 sensor. Shouldn't have any cheap metals, should plug in and work properly. Now that we have this disconnected, we have to go through and pull all the wiring that's routed for the sensor out. First thing we do is we have a special little socket that you can see here. It has a little slit in the side. I don't know if you can see that. If not, we'll record a separate image of it. But it actually slides over the cord for the oxygen sensor, and then it allows it to fit on. We're going to see first if we can even break it free, which from what I can tell, the oxygen sensor broke free really easily. Okay, so that's a good sign. So sometimes oxygen sensors, you have to be really careful because they will bind up in the exhaust manifold and strip out the threads. But this one here, we end up running into, it's coming out just slowly. Alright, so we have our old oxygen sensor out. As you can see, probably not a lot that it's going to focus on, but it's kind of a grayish color. Usually that's about what you get when something comes out. This one has some green to it, so almost like it has oxidation. The car did sit for the better part of a year and a half before I got it, so it could be that's what caused it to go bad. But here's our new one. When I take the tip, you can see that it's a nice bronzy color. It has a little bit of anti-seize already on there, which is really nice of Bosch to do. And when you look at our connectors, they are pretty much identical. I'm looking at the pinout. There's a couple different colors in the wires, but we still have our black, we have our white, we have our red, we have our yellow, and everything lines up to the same thing on this. With our oxygen sensor here, I'm going to feel around and feel the hole right here. I'm going to slip it down inside, and we're just going to thread that in by hand, obviously. Now that we have that hand tight, same thing that we did with our other, except we're going to do it reverse. And I'm just going to make it snug plus a little bit extra effort there. and it felt fairly seated. I don't want to keep putting excess tension on it. So our wire comes down. We can hook it in right there. We have one more clip we're going to have to grab. It goes right over here. See, a lot of this stuff, it matters when you run these wires. You want to run them the same way that they came out, because the way that manufacturer did it was they're protected. So we take our new connector along with our other connector. We want to put those together. Get a nice solid click. That slot, so we have both are held nice and comfortably. Put our 10 millimeters on. Okay, so now that we have the wires hooked up underneath, we have everything connected and clipped where it's supposed to go, we have the oxygen sensor installed, let's fire it up and see if that code comes back. Now that we're back in the car, we're going to set the key to the second position. Going to see if we can connect. There we go. Okay, so we still have our one code. We're going to clear our codes. Yes, we want to continue. Clears all our codes. So you can see we don't have any codes coming up. So let's start the car. Check engine light goes off. Obviously our seatbelt and the brake light, and the engine's cold, so we get that on the instrument cluster. Whew, pure power right there. Cycle the key. Let's see if we have any codes. No pending codes, no new codes. As you saw before, we had an instant P0030 that popped back up. This time we don't. So I'm going to say that we did a good job. Let's see if it starts again with no check engine light. Cool. I'm going to call it a success. Okay, so we got the last thing done that I wanted to get done on the Beetle for now. We got the oxygen sensor installed. I still have a few things I want to take care of, like motor mounts. These are shot, along with there's a transmission mount down there, and there's a dog bone at the back that stops the whole motor from rocking back and forth, but that's going to come at a later episode. But for right now, the Beetle's sorted. From when I got it, all the lights were on, and it had electrical issues and nothing worked. So now pretty much everything works, and I don't have any lights on, so I'm a happy camper. Most importantly, my wife is a happy camper since it's her car, but that light's off. I don't like check engine lights on. It can really affect your performance and anything else that goes on. But as you can see, doing an oxygen sensor isn't the worst job in the world. The biggest thing I would recommend is making sure you have the right tools. That always makes the difference. So get yourself an O2 sensor socket, and that will make life a lot easier. But thanks for taking the time to watch. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get the subscribers up as well as likes, because the more views I get and the more subscriptions I get, the next vehicle is closer than it is right now, because I'd like to get rid of the Saturn once it goes over to my daughter, and I want to get a station wagon, something like a Volvo or something like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun to work on. So anybody's help with subscriptions, sharing, anything like that is a help, but I'll see you next time.